In 1977, the Suburbs Rugby Club had a lot going on as its senior team prepared to take on Auckland's best. Coach John Carter managed to lure 1976 junior All Black and Auckland A winger Tua Sasevi from Otahuhu to join their ranks. The team started off superbly, soundly beating Otahuhu in the first game, with Barry Riley the star scoring 4 different ways, grabbing 16 of Suburbs' 24 points. The team then played wonderfully well to beat Ponsonby in the feature Eden Park match in week 2, with Brian Farrell the standout player at centre and brother Colin playing well at fullback. And Tua Sasevi in his first game for Suburbs displayed superb covering and aggressive tackling, and in some quarters was credited with being the difference between the two sides on the day. Sasevi was also a key figure, scoring 2 tries the following week when Suburbs were too good for Northcote, and then Suburbs comfortably beat University 2 days later in a Monday game. But nothing brings you down to ground more than an upset win against you, and that's exactly what lowly considered North Shore then did, beating Suburbs 24-15. Suburbs then had a second off week, not looking anything like their early form, and beating Waitemata 11 points to 0. And then while they played better against Marist, they too had been looking good this season and comfortably beat our team 20 points to 11 to topple Suburbs from the top of the table. Suburbs' form slump continued when they drew with Grammar, the only exception being Colin Farrell, who was brilliant under the high ball in gusty conditions. And then Tamaki beat Suburbs for the first and only time in their history, and it was their only win in the First Division that year. Not a great result for our boys, but the word is the Tamaki club were hugely ecstatic to topple a leading contender despite being relegated following this game. The second round started better for Suburbs, beating North Shore in a tight one, with Glenn Rich the dominant player on the day. And Suburbs then beat Otahuhu 12 points to 4, although coach John Carter played a key role in the game, needing to inspire the team to lift after trailing 4-0 at half time. And then the team easily beat Teachers 35-6, who'd been promoted after the first round, new All Black Colin Farrell drawing much scrutiny. And then Barry Riley's 3 penalty goals were enough to beat Ponsonby for the second time this year, but only just 9 points to 8. As the match descended into a rough battle and included a yellow card being issued, as the Red and Blues hung on to their 1-point advantage for the last quarter of the match. Suburbs then lost to University, who they'd easily beaten in the first round. They'd been 9-0 up at the break, but then Varsity kept things tight in the forwards and forced a try from a 5-metre scrum with 2 minutes to play. Next up, Colin Farrell scored 2 tries in Suburbs' win against Waitemata, who they'd kept scoreless across both rounds, and they also kept promoted side College Rifles scoreless, beating them 24-0, with Owl Masters scoring 2 tries. Suburbs were still equal with Ponsonby on top, but the Scribes were favouring the defending champs. In the penultimate Saturday of matches, Suburbs played against Marist, with Glenn Rich playing superbly in the front row of Dowd, Wallace and McCabe securing tight heads, and a convincing win was achieved 14 points to 3. Ponsonby beat Shore and Grammar beat University, creating a bit of a divide between the top 3 and the rest of the teams. On the final Saturday, Suburbs had the more difficult task playing third place Grammar, while Ponsonby had Otahuhu. Suburbs were in great form, running in 7 tries and putting on a classy display to dispose of Grammar 32 points to 14. Meanwhile, Ponsonby had a big win as well, meaning the 2 teams were tied on top of the table, so a final would be played at Eden Park on the Monday just 2 days later. Ponsonby were missing 2 of their star lock forwards, however still had a very strong forward pack, and in the 3rd minute of the game a high kick from Max Tradea was too tricky for the Ponsonby fullback, and when it was fumbled, Ron Farrell, Barry Hill and Owl Masters towed the ball ahead, and Farrell just got the touchdown and Riley the conversion. Ponsonby attempted the same tactic in return, but Colin Farrell and Masters always seemed to cope. After 18 minutes, B.G. Williams kicked a penalty from 68 yards out. The teams battled on and traded penalties either side of half-time, and then for 25 minutes of the second half, Suburbs led 9-6. It was a gripping final half hour with both sides battling away, but when it mattered, Suburbs had the sense to clear from their goal line with massive punts from brothers Farrell, Tradea or Riley, and Ponsonby, under pressure to score, dominated possession but made many mistakes. The Suburbs forwards hung on grimly, Peter Wallace being seen thumping fist into palm, and none responded better than Feta Clark and Lloyd Dowd. Barry Riley then kicked his second goal 5 minutes from time, and Ponsonby then mustered a last desperate raid, but like all before it, finished with a mistake. But Suburbs was never going to let this chance to win the Gallaher Shield pass, and the great old trophy was finally theirs. It had been such a long time coming for the club and made all the sweeter with the senior reserves winning their championship as well. It had been such a long wait for the likes of Lloyd Dowd and Jim McCabe, who'd been playing senior rugby since the early 60s, and in a year where Barry Riley was not only the most prolific point scorer in Auckland Senior Club Rugby, but set a new record for Suburbs, and he was one of 4 of our star players who would rightly be selected for Auckland A. Glenn Rich would become the club's first junior All Black, and Colin Farrell the first All Black. 59 years the Suburbs Rugby Football Club had waited for the day one of their own would be holding the Gallaher Shield aloft.